Ajmal Masroor is an Imam and broadcaster who stood as an independent candidate in Tower Hamlets in the last election. Thanks for coming on the programme, Ajmal. I wonder what you make of this. Are we calling it a confrontation?
Good afternoon or good evening, Tom.
Good evening.
Let me just put the context first. It is Ramadan. I'm not if you're aware.
I do.
So we're all fasting. I've just finished my 12 hours of fasting and I've just eaten. I've sat down and I'm having a chat with you, and I'm hoping our chat is going to be as fruitful as my food. I'll tell you why, because it was very satisfying. In that particular scenario in Tower Hamlets where it took place, I believe it happened in Whitechapel area, which would be the thick of my constituency. Of course, it's wrong to claim that this is an exclusively Muslim area if that's what somebody says. Of course, it isn't. It's a multicultural country. It's a diverse world in which everybody's free to go about doing their own things, no doubt about it. What I think happened there was, it's unfortunate, that this person chose at a time when Muslims would be in large number coming to the mosque to pray, which is the evening, about 7:30, targeting an area where there would be about 10,000 Muslims coming to pray the evening prayer, and standing in front of that particular crowd and extolling the virtues of Jesus. I think there is a time and a place for everything. For example, if somebody was celebrating Shabbat in my area where I physically live in North London, and if I went in front of a synagogue on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening or a Saturday, and started telling everybody about the virtues of Christianity or Islam, it will not be wrong, but it would be silly. Why would I be insensitive to my Jewish neighbors or my Christian neighbors by telling them something else when they are focusing on something that they believe and they're devoting in it? Would have been part of his good Christian tradition, just like Jesus would have taught, and that is, even if you disagree with somebody, love thy neighbor, love people that you don't dislike. If he does not like what these people are doing, he could have stood there and said, guys, I'm here to congratulate you. You're coming to the mosque to pray. I'm here to support you. In fact, I'm here to give you some water. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to preach to a converted bunch of people who are going to pray. I just think he was wasting his time, and I think he could have done something different somewhere else.
Yes, it may well have been wasting his time. It may well be considered silly. But we are all in agreement, are we not, Ajmal, that this is not law-breaking?
No, of course. Nobody broke the law. I understand that. And I've always supported freedom of right, our expression. Look, I've always said, let there be a free market for religion. All religions should compete, and all of us should put our cards out. And people out there, intelligent people, will listen to our arguments and of course, accept or reject. It's up to them. In fact, that's exactly what God says in the Quran, and we have shown you the path. You may accept it or you may reject it. If God has said that about his way, who are we to impose our own? So the bottom line is, this man hasn't broken the law, but this man has been very insensitive. He has been not very Christian, especially not very loving towards his neighbors who are actually fasting and worshipping. He should be more sympathetic and kind. That's all I'm talking about.
Although, to be fair, I mean, in the videos that I've seen on YouTube, he does talk about loving the people who are walking past him or what have you. When someone shouts at him, talk about Jesus, don't talk about Muhammad, don't say Muhammad, is that again something that you would say would be so insulting as to be silly and unnecessary?
My view is slightly controversial on this one. I say anyone can criticize Muhammad all they like. Anyone can criticize God all they like. Anyone can criticize Quran all they like. Do you know what? They're not going to be able to do anything to it. The reality is, the veracity of the Quran has stood the test of time for 1400 years. Message of Islam stands today. 2 billion people of the world follow the message of Islam. Prophet Muhammad is mentioned, and everyone, those who follow, love him, revere him, mention him with great respect and adoration. So anyone who wants to criticize, please come and welcome. If you have anything to say about the Quran, bring it on, not an issue. So if people get offended because somebody is criticizing, it's perhaps their own insecurity that's at play. My recommendation would be to Muslims and my Christian friends and any other people of faith and no faith. Look, let's have a civilized conversation. Let's have a dialogue between each other. Let's disagree. Let's have a debate, but always remain civil, courteous, and loving, because ultimately that's the message of every faith, every religion, and every prophet.
Listen, Ajmal, I think you're absolutely spot on. I guess the worry is that there might be some people of various faiths, but there might be some people who say, talking about a particular religious figure, being derogatory about a particular religious figure, casting aspersions on a particular religious figure is too far. Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't be allowed. And I took a call from someone last week suggesting that they would turn to violence if that happened in front of them.
That's very un-Islamic if they were to do it in the name of Islam. Islam doesn't say that. The Prophet of Allah, God, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was alive in Mecca, in Medina, he was unbelievably kind and gentle and forgiving to his enemies who insulted him, assaulted him, drove him out of his own home, threatened to kill him, tried to assassinate him, did everything possible, and yet he forgave them, yet he treated them with love and kindness. Ultimately, the teaching of Jesus is the same. So some followers can become very zealot. I'll give you an example. In front of my house, there is an underground station. I won't name it. And in front of that underground station, a few months ago, a man was standing with a Bible on one hand, megaphone on the other hand, and saying, every one of you, you're going to go to hell and you're going to burn in it. And I went to him and I said, man, this is not how Jesus would have spoken. Jesus would have said, God is there loving you. Come. Listen to the message of hope. Listen to the message of love. But this man was preaching Christianity. Do I blame all the Christians for it? No. Do I think the entire area has been taken over by extreme ideas like that? No. I still go about my normal way. So just to put it in perspective, my constituency where I stood, Hamlets, is very diverse, very multicultural. It is true. It's got a very large Bangladeshi community who happen to be Muslim. It's got a very large Somali community who happen to be Muslim. But there are lots of people who are Christians. There are lots of people who are still Jewish, as well as people of faith and other faith. They all live together. And I'll tell you one good memory of mine from that area, Tom. When I was a young boy, I used to walk up and down that area. I used to go to the Jewish bakery to buy bread. I used to go to the Jewish butchers to buy my chicken. And I used to get all of that with delight and joy and had fantastic relationships. So Hamlets remains the most diverse, remains the most celebrated. And of course, it has got lots of Bangladeshis. But that's the excitement of Hamlets. Come and see how amazing it is. Don't judge Hamlets by one or two people who may get upset. It happens in every borough. So don't worry about it. Chill, stay calm, fast in the month of Ramadan, have a good time. That's my message.
Ajmal Masroor, Imam and broadcaster who stood as an independent candidate in Tower Hamlets in the last election. Thank you very much indeed for your time this evening.